Hey friends, and welcome back to the Shuffle Circle. Tyler here, aka B-Girl Dern, and today I'm very excited to be bringing you guys a breakdown of a concept that we should have brought a long time ago, but here it is. We're breaking down traveling on various shapes while you shuffle. Now recently there's been a lot of talk of traveling on this figure 8, which I love, so maybe you're wondering, what does that even mean? How can I do that? And just to give you a little bit of understanding before we break it down, for me, this will clearly separate a shape moment from a shuffle moment within a freestyle, because it's really hard to cut shapes while traveling, say in a circle or on this figure 8 that we're gonna break down. Of course it is possible, but it is gonna be much easier to like running man and rock on these shapes. So I'm gonna break them all down for you, and I've drawn them with some chalk, which I would recommend that if you're having a hard time with it, you doing as well. If you don't feel like going to get chalk, honestly, you can like shape it out with a piece of rope or whatever you have. So why try to shuffle on a shape? Why does it help? What's the big idea? Why is everybody talking about it? So when you think about it, trying to shuffle in one place is pretty simple, whereas if you try to shuffle on a pattern, you have to change those moves in a way to where they sort of flow together well and can keep you going in a specific direction. Also, when you're talking about the pattern of the music, which goes on 8 counts, if you are completing patterns with your shape along the same 8 count pattern, that's going to be very eye pleasing. You can get more in touch with the music. If you're doing the circle and it takes you a whole 8 count, by the time you hit the 4th 8 count and the beat does something like da-na-na, da-na-na, before it's like boom, boom, boom again, you can have a little moment of musicality, and maybe a little also break in your flow, and then hop back onto your circle just to add to the connection with the music within your freestyle. If you utilize some of these concepts and you feel like they really helped you, let us know just so we can enjoy your progress alongside of you. If this is your first time on our website, don't forget to become a member. That way you will receive an email every time some new content drops or something epic is on the way. Alrighty fam, so I'm gonna take y'all with me for some demonstration of these traveling on the paths. I wanna show you my view of it so you can feel how it's supposed to look when you're looking down at your feet. So the straight line is gonna be our first travel path, and as you can see, I've divided it into 4 compartments here. So we want to take 4 steps to the right on our travel path here and 4 steps to the left to complete an even 8 count with this pattern every time to make it look really nicely on a track. So from my view up here, when we start this running man, in order to make it something that travels, we have to change that running man a little bit. It's not just a forward motion. We're gonna travel this way with the first step and get into the first compartment on 1, and second compartment on 2, and third compartment 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and so arrows kind of pointing to remind you that we bounce from end to end with this move. I'm going to show you from behind here what that'll look like. So I'm going to bounce back and forth on this straight line travel with just a running man a couple times just to show you what it would look like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now once you feel comfortable with just running manning on that pattern, try out different moves on it. So try your T-step in there a little bit. Would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now with this first travel pattern, I want to introduce a concept which is always trying to continue your flow when you do things like spins instead of breaking it. So if I'm traveling to my right with this flow first and I want to throw a spin, boom, boom. From here, I would want to spin to my right so I could continue this travel, as opposed to coming here and trying to spin to the left and having to break the flow and then go this way. So if I'm traveling to the left, my spin is going to go over my left shoulder so I can continue that flow again, as opposed to trying to travel this way, break that to spin, and then continuing on this way. Now I also want to talk about the concept of keeping your back to the direction you flow. Now for me, when I think about the moonwalk, one reason it looks cool is because you're facing one way, your feet are facing one way, but you're managing to go a different way. So we're going to apply that concept to shuffling here on this straight line and keep our back to the direction we're going to flow. So that means instead of just facing perfectly straight forward and kind of moving like this, I'm going to turn my back to the left a little bit when I T-step with my right foot so it looks more like this. And then I switch that direction on the running man. Switch. Now my back's this way and I can T, whatever, switch that on the running man. Again, switching towards the audience though, never putting my back to the audience to make that change. This concept will come into play a lot on the figure eight, so get comfortable with that. Just keep one foot up and practice that motion of hopping in the backwards direction while still keeping a very sharp, crisp pump with this foot. Other side, boom, 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 boom. It's almost a hop, but we barely want it to come off the ground because we're also pushing this way. So for our next shape, fam, we're gonna introduce the horseshoe. So for the horseshoe, as opposed to really traveling around, we're sort of just rotating in place here from end to end on the horseshoe. So just to show you what this horseshoe looks like from my bird's eye point of view, we're staying in one place, but we're rotating around that line of the horseshoe. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like with a shuffle. So just staying within my horseshoe and rotating from side to side, that would look something like this. Now if I were to go from straight line travel to horseshoe travel, that would look like this. The possibilities are truly infinite within the horseshoe travel. Doesn't matter which foot you T-step on, doesn't matter which direction you're turning if you want to do a T-step on that foot. Again, in creating that almost even back and forth that matches the tempo of the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your shuffle has to become more fluid as you're trying to running man in this certain way that completes a circle. It's not just your regular forward facing running man. Again, imagining trying to like cut shapes on a horseshoe or something like that seems like almost impossible, but a little more flowy if you ask me. So let's talk about this circle here for a little bit. So again, just to give you kind of my bird's eye view of how it would look, I always kind of start at the top corner, and again, the running man kind of goes around now. We're really creating this roundness with the pattern of our steps, trying to follow that line there and work in various moves as we travel still in this circular direction. So while we're traveling on this circle, it's important to remember that we want to remain facing the audience. So your knees want to try to remain as square on as possible and feel out how it feels to pull your body in a certain direction while your feet maintain that forward momentum. Now the circle is one of my favorites because you can really work with almost looking like one of those tilt-a-whirls at the fair or whatever. So maybe I'm facing this way as I go around the top of it, but then I turn to face this way while I'm still traveling in that circle. So just to get you comfortable floating on this circle for a second, let's put a little 8 count together. Let's do 4 running men, 2 T-steps, and then 2 running men to get back to the beginning. So 4 running men, 2 T-steps, 2 running men, back to the beginning. So technically it's like 6 running men, 2 T-steps, 6 running men, 2 T-steps. So let's start with the left foot. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try that the other side too. Make sure you guys are always trying to be as ambidextrous as possible. So we'd start on the right foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So think about how you can also make the location of your T-step kind of help you draw your circle. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of T-stepping like out here, I can T-step back here, draw some more circle, and then T-step over here, hit the bottom of the circle, back up here. Boom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's talk about something else, which is adding a spin onto this circle. Now as you can see, the circle that I've drawn here goes and has a little belly button for a spin, because I want to illustrate the same concept I was kind of talking about on the line. How if we want to do a spin, we want to keep it going in the flow as opposed to it coming around, us stopping and spinning this way and then bouncing that way. That would just be strange. So how this would look for me: run, run, spin, spin, T-step, whatever you want. So if we're running manning to the right, our spin is going to be to the right, and then we keep going clockwise. If we're going counterclockwise to the left, this spin's going to be to the left, and then we keep going to the left. So let's see that in action. And let's put that to a little 8 count as well, so you can have a little pattern to practice this spin on the circle in. So I'm going to turn around and we're going to go clockwise for our circle. So I'm going to start us with the right foot. We're going to go running man 1, 2, step to spin on 3, left foot spins around 4, and then running man 5, 6, 7, 8, back to start point. So again, that goes 1, 2, step 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when we step to that spin on 3, we step on the left on 4, right comes up on and running man 5. It's important to come again to universal transition point when you want to transition into or out of something. So we're transitioning out of a spin by coming up and then down. So don't forget, it can feel kind of weird changing your running man from something just forward to something that's happening in a different direction, but don't forget those are still running man. So it's step, universal transition point, step, universal transition point. So once you start to feel really comfortable with just running, manning, and rocking on the circle, again, think about different moves and patterns that take you in a travel path. For example, a basic slide takes you in a direction. So if I wanted to do that on a circle, I could. If I wanted to backwards running man on a circle, I can, because that creates travel. So now let's get on to the goods. We're going to talk about this figure 8. So I have some figure 8s drawn over here, and let's look at this one right here. So when we start our figure 8, we always start in the middle of it. So there's a circle on either side of us here. This one's tricky because it's hard to say how many steps are going to take each individual person to get around each circle, so it's hard to put to an 8 count. But I'm going to give you a basic idea, which is that I usually running man up the tops of my circles and then T-step up the back to get to the center. So we're floating it like it's an infinity symbol or a figure 8. So I'm going to show you how this would look for me from up here. Running man, T-step, 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 and I'm back in the center. So I'm running man, T around the back and back up to the front to hit a running man. So let's break this thing down, guys. Again, we're starting in the center of our figure 8. So in order to create the illusion that it is a figure 8, we have to travel again with our basics. So we're just running manning, but our first one goes forward so we can start to draw the circle. Our next one goes to the side and back a little, and our T-steps travel us back to create that circle. So left foot would start over here, 1, 2, T-step, 3, again creating this travel, 4, and then I'm back to the center, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Now again, I said it's hard to track how many steps it's going to take for each person, so it doesn't have to be 2 running man and 2 T-steps. It can be 3 running man and 2 T-steps, or 2 running man and 3 T-steps to get back up to the center. Let's talk a little bit about keeping our back to the direction we're flowing, because this figure 8 has the most potential to look dynamic. So if we start here in the center and we're going to go to the right first, we're going to turn off to the right a little bit, boom, boom, and then keep my back to this direction as I T-step up, and then switch that as I get to the next circle. Boom, boom, my back's to the direction I'm about to flow, doom, doom, I'm in the center, switch that. Back's up here, turn around. Now, as you feel more comfortable, work your way to a smaller figure 8. And then there's that potential for this spin at X marks the spot right on the center. So I'm gonna walk you through that. So as you start to try to work to a smaller figure eight, obviously the pattern's gonna change a little bit, but for me, I end up doing more T-steps than running mans as it gets smaller and faster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So part of this figure eight is also feeling it with your top half and really creating that back and forth energy. So if we wanted to do a little spin on the center of our figure eight, we're gonna do the same sort of pattern, running man, T-step, T-step. When we get to the center, from our T-step, we're just gonna step on it, do a little X plant, so that's jumping to our feet crossed up, unwind, and as we start to approach the front, the left foot comes up so we can running man and hit on the next side of the figure eight. So again, from the beginning, I'm in the center of my figure eight. We would go running man, T-step, T-step, step on the center, twist it up, unwind, left foot, boom, 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 T-step, T-step, step on the center, cross it up, unwind, right foot's coming up, boom, boom, running man, T-step, T-step, step, twist, unwind, and running man, T, T, step, twist, unwind, boom,